Okay, good morning to all. My name is Merilyn from the International Student Environmental Coalition Cameroon, which is ISEC for short. So, um, we are having an interview to share our views on biodiversity. We are going to be celebrating the International Day of Biodiversity this year, May 22nd, on the theme Acting Locally for Global Impact. So we decided to make a short video interview with our guest, Cecile, share our views, our insights, our experience and expertise on the topic biodiversity. So today I am pleased to welcome Miss Cecile Atu Yvette B. She is an environmental advocate with a master's in climate change, biodiversity conservation, and ecosystem service. With more than 4 years of experience, she works extensively on community development programs, environmental research, and policy-related initiatives, both in Cameroon and internationally. And she is also a volunteer at ISEC. She has been volunteering for years now with us, and she's been doing marvelously in school outreaches and community cleanups and all programs that ISEC has. So she's going to be sharing her experience on the topic biodiversity. She's actually an expert in the field. So, Cecile, you're welcome. Thank you for accepting to have this interview with us to share with us your knowledge. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Merilyn. Hello, good morning, and hello to all of those who are going to be viewing us. Um, yeah, so my name is Cecile, and I'm very honored to be on this very interesting, and I hope it's going to go on well, uh, interview. And I hope you're going to learn also, going to learn one or two things. There are no new things, but just learning one or two new things. Yeah.
Hopefully, we'll learn a lot from your experience, not only your mastery of the topic, but your experience as well. So, we hope that the network doesn't have
Yeah.
a toll on us. So, okay, we are going to dive directly into our interview on the occasion of the World Biodiversity Day with the team acting locally for global impact. To start off, in simple terms, what is biodiversity and why does it matter in our everyday life?
Okay, that's a good question. Probably because it's a question that most times we do not ask ourselves. But biodiversity is comes from two words actually. It's two words that have been put together. You have biological diversity. In simple terms, it's just the variety of all living things or all forms of life, be it plants, animals, insects that are on Earth, and plus the ecosystem in which they live come together. That's what we call biodiversity. So all varieties of lives, animals, insects, that means earthworm, termites, mosquitoes, even human beings, we're part of biodiversity because we are also part of living things. So every form of life found on Earth in its ecosystem makes part of biodiversity or is biodiversity. And so you understand that you understand its importance because it's just like asking a human what importance are you to your own life. I mean, without biodiversity, everything collapses. There is no food, you don't have rain, the soils will not be fertile, you will not have water, everything collapses, the earth will not live. In fact, no biodiversity, no life on earth. So that's how important it is, and that is why it matters to our everyday lives. No biodiversity, no earth.
All right, thank you so much for that. Um, one animal or one species cannot survive without the other. So we
No.
We need each and every species in order to move on with life. All right, so this year's theme is acting locally for global impact. Why should young people care about biodiversity and how can their local action be different, make a difference globally?
That's also another very good question. The youth. In Cameroon, there's something that we say in French that we grew up with it. Our president used to say it all the time. La jeunesse, c'est le fer de lance de la nation. Youth are the future. But for me, youth is because you're living your youth now, present, right? You're inheriting consequences of bad action from 50, 100 years ago today. And you are going to leave a legacy. So the youth, why should you involve yourself? Because you're inheriting consequences of actions that were not done by you. And two, you will leave a legacy. So what legacy are you leaving? Are you going to leave the legacy that you inherited? That should not be the case. And that is why youth should involve themselves. Today, let's talk about the urban settings. In most urban settings, you hardly see forests that used to be there. You hardly have green spaces. You see the little, rivers that have not, if it has not been encroached into by due to urbanization, it's packed with plastic bottles. It's highly polluted. Gone are those days that people could go to streams nearby and have a good swim and so on. That already tells you that there is a problem, and that as youth, what can we do, or what should we do, or we should be doing something. What do you mean? What can we do? We should be doing something in order that those coming behind do not inherit what we inherited. So, two things why a youth today in Cameroon, precisely, and in the world, should take part or should take biodiversity questions very seriously. One, we're inheriting consequences, and two, you have a legacy to leave, and you should seriously think about the legacy that you're going to leave for the future generation.
Yeah, and it should be positive legacy. The legacy should
Yeah.
be in the positive aspect. It shouldn't be because we inherited a bad legacy. Let me put it that way. We should leave a bad one to the future generation. Yeah, they should do something positive.
Yeah.
We have many species that are being extinct right now. We used to have like kola nuts back then, kola nut trees, and now it is actually like to find one is like finding gold in the midst of I don't know
Man.
sand or something.
I don't even want to tell you, Merilyn, but I was saying this, and it was very funny. I grew up and I did not know that. I had never seen a kola nut. I did not even know that kola nuts come in some sort of
Yeah.
like I never knew up until I started getting into this field of environmental protection and stuff. That's when I saw kola nuts in its natural state for the first time. Just imagine. So there is a whole generation that is coming, and there is one important thing that we forget. In Africa, in Cameroon, the young population is over 60% of the population. That means that majority of people in Cameroon are young people.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? Meaning that we are actually the ones that are going to face everything if we don't do something.
Yeah.
If we don't do something. So it's very important that we begin
Before
to
the other generation come, we have to live with that hazard that we are causing right now.
exactly. And we are many of us that are going to live with that. And it's important that we really start taking action
And
and
it's
making
too
local
bad.
action.
It's too bad to see that the youth are not actually doing anything to remedy the situation. Everybody is just like, well, it's not my call.
Yeah.
So
Maybe
it's
because they're not, maybe, I don't know. Hey, probably with platforms like this, they're going to start um getting the importance of getting involved. Yeah.
hopefully. Okay, it leads me to my next question. Cameroon is often described as an African in miniature. What makes our country so rich in biodiversity and why is that significant?
That's a powerful, powerful question. We always,
A place
I mean,
of
from every Cameroon, yeah, every Cameroonian growing up says Cameroon is Africa in miniature.
miniature. Yeah.
Everybody. And it's generally sad that when you ask, what do you mean by Africa in
African
miniature, he will
miniature.
hardly ever, yeah, he will hardly ever mention biodiversity, of which
Mm-hmm.
that is actually why Cameroon is Africa in miniature. Yes, we are bilingual, we have English, French, and stuff. Why is Cameroon Africa in miniature? Because geographically we are blessed. We are a blessed country. Because geographically we have literally almost, if not all, the ecosystems you find in Africa, you find it in Cameroon. Let me give you a little rundown. From the far north region, you have the Sudano-Sahelian, and in some parts, even the days are there.
Mm-hmm.
That you have the Sudano-Sahelian, and then you come down to the grasslands, to then you get to the forest, and then you get to the coast. Many countries are not blessed with that. There are many countries who do not have coastal lines. Yeah, who are not on the coast. So many African countries. There are many African countries who do not have forests. So many. There are many African countries who do not have dry land savannas or Sahelian ecosystem. So we are blessed, and that is why Africa. And then those are the ecosystems, right? What makes Cameroon rich in biodiversity is the fact that you remember in the definition I gave you about biodiversity, I said all forms of life living in an ecosystem. So with each of these ecosystems that I've just listed, there are species that are specific to those ecosystems.
Yeah.
It means that if for example there is an insect somewhere that's supposed to be only in the forest, wherever it is in Africa, you find it in Cameroon.
Mm-hmm.
It means that if there is any, that means, I mean, the littlest form of life that is supposed to be anywhere else in Africa, you would find it in Cameroon. That tells you how rich and important. And then there's also one thing that we always forget, because they always say, oh, the Congo Basin rainforest. I don't know if it's because they say the Congo, but it actually begins in Cameroon. It actually starts in Cameroon and then moves down to Gabon, Congo, a bit of Central African Republic, and then you have what they call the two Congos. That's what you call the Congo Basin rainforest, which is the second largest in the world, and so a huge carbon well. So if we're fighting climate change, we have to, of course, and global warming, we have to protect the Congo Basin. Cameroon has an important role to play. All critically endangered species that you find in all the ecosystems in the world, in Africa, you find them in Cameroon. So Cameroon has a great role to play in biodiversity conservation, biodiversity protection, and environmental. So all the consequences that have come with endangering both endangering species, they come to in Cameroon. If we are cutting down our forest, we are going to face the consequences because we have the forest. If we are polluting our coastal our coast, sorry, we will have the consequences. If we are not taking care of our Sudano-Sahelian zones, we are going to have the desert coming closer, and so on and so forth. So all of those makes Cameroon pivotal. And of course, Cameroon is found in the center and the heart of, of Africa. So
Okay. Thank you for that. Um, Despite this richness, biodiversity is under threat, as you rightly mentioned. What are some of the major causes of biodiversity loss in Cameroon today, especially at the local level?
on a local level, we have deforestation. And you note we're talking about the local level. I read an article about 2 or 3 years ago. I don't remember, but I will share the link when we are off this meeting. That states that in the eastern region, that's one of the regions with the most extensive forests in Cameroon, about 2 to 3 football stadiums of forest is cut down every year. Every year. You have 2 to 3. That's the area that is being cut down every year. It's terrible. Deforestation. And when you cut down these trees, what happens to the animals that depend on that ecosystem? They are forced to get deeper into the forest, or then we all move towards human settlements, and then we begin to have human wildlife conflicts. Of course, they are in their environment. We are the ones encroaching into it, but it causes conflicts. It leads to death. It leads to so many things, and so on. You have illegal wildlife trade. I'm going to talk about this trade first before I go to hunting. 2 weeks ago, last week, or it's 2 days ago, I don't remember when. The Laga, in collaboration with the Ministry of Forestry and Wildlife, they caught some guys in the eastern region with 700 kilograms of pangolin scales. Pangolin is a highly endangered species, highly protected. 700 kilograms of scales. I mean, a scale does not even weigh. So just imagine 700 kilograms. That's you want to eradicate the species. And you even find it's terrible. You have markets in Yaoundé where they openly sell these highly endangered species. I will not call the markets, not to encourage that. But when I see that, to the point I remember when we were discussing with some friends, they were telling us that even if you want lion meat, you go there, you go to that market, it's terrible, illegal, and all of this is illegal. All of this is illegal. You have pollution, water, air, land. It destroys our soil. I forgot soil pollution, very important, because land and soil are different, but just here like that. Soil pollution, of which we depend on soils for livelihood, for food. Many a times you would go to farms and you hardly even see earthworms. That means those are the basics to show that this soil is alive. You see earthworms, but you go to many farms, they don't have earthworms anymore. Obliged to pump fertilizers, inorganic or chemical fertilizers in order for us to eat, and we know the consequences of that. All in all, I say that what threatens or what causes biodiversity threat, or what is man and his activities, man and capitalism. And it should be noted that when we are talking of this locally, it's important that we should precise locally, as in us, not necessarily the expatriates. You see, not necessarily people who are coming for their companies, because even us in our day-to-day activities, we pollute, we cut down trees for one or two reasons. We plant trees that are not supposed to be planted because of one or two reasons, and generally it's all centered around capitalism. So all of this causes threats to biodiversity.
Yeah, you mentioned about deforestation and animals having to move from their natural habitats to elsewhere, or maybe coming into the human setting. When they come into that human setting, they cannot adapt because it is not their environment, and that's how they just get extinct, and it's
Mm-hmm.
a really bad practice. Many locals they keep on attributing deforestation to the big companies, to industrialization, forgetting that they themselves at the local level they are contributing to it massively.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Massively is just a term, but they are contributing to it in one way or the other by cutting it down without replanting others. They just, well, indisciplined cutting down of trees and
Yeah.
not planting it back. So it was actually good for you to mention that. Um, uh, my next question, bringing it back to action. What are some simple, practical steps that young people can take in their communities to protect biodiversity and contribute to global impact?
Okay, simple actions. Planting native trees, not invasive species. Planting trees that are beneficial for an ecosystem. Let me take an example. If you go to the western and northwest regions, the most dominant trees there is the eucalyptus in all its species. which impoverishes our soil. You understand? Because it's is the eucalyptus species is known to be nutrient and water intensive. You see, so for a region that is already in grassland, that means that we do not have a lot of manure, organic manure coming in from leaves falling from trees,
Mm-hmm.
and then you come and we planted eucalyptus almost everywhere in almost all divisions. You see that it is not that is not those are not the trees that we're supposed to plant in that area. Those are not trees for areas that do not already have water. I mean, water, Northwest region, water is a problem generally. The same thing like going to wanting to plant that species in a region like the Sudano-Sahelian. I mean, it's not even going to survive in the first place. So plant trees that are good for ecosystem. So before you want to plant those trees, it's good to do some consultations and stuff like that. Plant trees. Fruit trees are always the best. I always say this. Stop stop buying bush meat. Stop buying bush meat. If there is no market, these people will stop hunting. If there is because when I was reading that article about the pangolin scales, I got to understand that it is used for aphrodisiacs. You understand? Stop using those things. Just stop, and you'll see that it's going to influence how people go about hunting these things. Of course, we're not going to tell people who used to depend on bushmeat for feeding as a cultural habit to stop. No, but they will not hunt pangolins that was going to give you 700 kilograms of scales. No, it's never going to happen. They're just going to harvest the one that they are going to eat at home.
Yeah.
So you see, stop buying bushmeat. Report illegal logging and poaching. But if you in what the Cameroon, it's difficult to see where there's illegal logging because generally these people who do logging as a business or these industries, they generally have documentation to back them. Okay. Hello.
Yes.
Okay, let me just continue.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so sorry for that. So let us just be aware not to pollute, and I think everything's going to be fine. So plant trees, clean your vicinity, do not pollute in any form, whatever pollutant it is. Um, Manage your waste. Waste management is very important. Stop burning for agricultural practices for agriculture. Reduce or stop the use of chemical entrants in our farms, and really let us master our urbanization. Yes, because today we would say human wildlife conflict because animals are encroaching into human settlement, but you forget that you actually destroy their habitat to settle there. Yes, so let's take Yaoundé for example. Yaoundé is normally in the forest ecosystem, but you 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 agree with me that there's literally no forest anymore and then there's one thing that we can recommend is creation of green spaces in every town. When you're planning a town, just allow a place that nobody touches it. I saw it in Abidjan, Forêt du Banco. It's a forest in the heart of Abidjan. It's beautiful and people go there for tourism and ecotourism. So,
Okay, thank you. When you mentioned about planning of local local species or yeah, local species, I felt guilty around that area because not that I cut down trees, but I do a lot of planting. But I do not always plant with the idea at the back of my mind that I need to plant local species. I just need I always just think that I need to
I should go
plant
and plant.
trees. I plant
Yeah.
without knowing whether it is good for the soil or that species will help the biodiversity of the area. I just plant for planting
Mhm.
sake.
Fantastic.
I remember I was in the northwest region in my village in Bambly, where my father and I we decided to plant 20 trees. And when we reached there, finding trees was very difficult. So we came across eucalyptus tree. And we got 20 of them. 20. And we planted we planted alongside about 3 hectares of land. Like 3 hectares of land. We just dispersed them around the place, and now that you
Yeah. And
mentioned, I am actually feeling, fortunately
you
or unfortunately, the fire cut the area, so all of those things they survive. So I think
maybe and let me just sorry, let me just tell you and say, you see the importance of, I also forgot to mention education. You
yes,
see the importance of education and sensitization, making people to understand that yes, planting of trees is good, but plant trees that are beneficial to the ecosystem in which you find yourself.
yes,
So if, for example, Northwest cola nuts, for example, it would have been very beneficial, not only for the ecosystem, but for economy. You know, cola nuts today is money, it's expensive. So we need to start thinking like that. And I think that's the principle of sustainable development, right? You're
yeah.
developing yourself while protecting your environment, growing economically and also socially. It's playing its role. So yeah. Now that was just ignorance, but it's okay.
Yeah, I learned
I
that I
think
am not doing that mistake again. Okay, so we are about to round up. So, if you could leave young people with one message about biodiversity and their role in protecting it, what would that be?
if I could leave one word, not one word,
Yeah. Okay, just one, not necessarily one word, but a
pre-
captivating
pre-
message that is going to be like their watchword.
yeah, preferably a sentence.
Yeah.
Not that, not a sentence, but let me just say something like something. Let me just say something. Not that you inherited the consequences of the actions of people, and you should be seriously thinking of what legacy you are going to be leaving tomorrow. We have the choice, we have the power now because we are young. And I thank God every day for falling in this generation, because this is a generation where we are more than we are aware. We quickly get information, we quickly know solutions. It's true that sometimes it's not that easy, but we quickly realize that okay, we need to do something. And generally we do the things we do. Get into, just start volunteering, just start doing something, but make sure that you're doing something that is relevant for biodiversity. You see your neighbor, you see your neighbor who has a monkey, because we used to have these people who have monkeys as pets. Make sure that it's not an endangered species, and report to who it should be reported to. Generally, the Ministry of Forestry and Wildlife. There are delegations in almost all subdivisions, divisions, and stuff. Adv- sensitize people, sensitize people around you, from the young to the old, because sometimes even the people, the generations ahead of us, they are not even aware of certain actions. Be an example. Yes, be an example, and always have it in mind that the legacy, what legacy am I going to leave? Let me even give this example that we I'm a Northwesterner too, right? When you go to our palaces, you will see leopard skin. You will see our this the fawn wears a hat with a porcupine, with some porcupine quills on them and stuff. I've never seen a porcupine, but I've seen porcupine quills. That tells you already that there may likely be a generation of fawns who may not have porcupine quills on their caps if care is not taken. So we should have it at the back of our minds. And this is my call to everybody, not only the youth, yes, the youth, but to everybody at all levels. We have to realize that biodiversity is not about animals in the bush or trees somewhere. It's about us humans being part or being living things which depend on biodiversity for livelihood. No life, no earth, no life. No earth, no life. And no biodiversity, no earth. That's my final sentence. I talk a lot.
Right, thank you so much for that. I love what you said at the beginning that the youths are not actually the future, the youths are for the present. So they should get out there with all the energy, all the enthusiasm that they have in them and act locally for global impact because the small action they make, the small action they carry out in their local communities may go a long way, a global way to actually save our biodiversity. So thank you so much for accepting to have this interview with me to share your insights about diversity. Um, well, I hope that many youths, any youth that comes across this video will get empowered in one way or the other. So thank you so much and see you in the next session.
Thank you too. And thank you to everyone listening. Bye.